Hello, and welcome back to Every Tiny Victory. My name is Crystal. I'm a 40-something-year-old woman living in Houston, Texas, and I'm giving a 2-week update on my medication, my weight loss, and my upcoming colonoscopy. If you're new here, I'd appreciate it if you would like and subscribe to my channel if any of these topics are interesting to you. And for those of you that are returning, thank you so much for coming back and spending your time with me. All right, so first up is going to be an update on my weekly injectable medication called Mounjaro. The actual name of this medication is called tirzepatide, and the market name that it's known by is Mounjaro. It comes in medication dosages of 2.5 milligrams, so increments of 2.5. I started on 2.5, went up to 5, and now I'm at 7.5. Um, I'm using this as a diabetic to help me regulate my blood sugar, but there are some adverse reactions or what are known as side effects that include a number of different things. But one of the things that people find beneficial is a decreased appetite. Now, in my case, I haven't experienced any of the other side effects that people, have reported on this medication, like nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, constipation, indigestion, abdominal pain. So I've had none of that. The only thing that I've experienced has been a decreased appetite. In addition to that, I've also experienced something that has really made me, I guess, aware of this. I don't know if it's a phenomenon or something called food noise. For me, it has decreased or basically silenced the food noise that I didn't even know that I had. So I've only experienced positive things as a result from taking Mounjaro. Your experience may be different, or that of somebody that you know who is taking this medication may be different. But in my case, it has been helpful as a diabetes management tool, as well as support for my weight loss journey. All right, so for some context, I was diagnosed with diabetes in December of 2023. And in January of 2024, towards the end of that month, I began taking Mounjaro at the 2.5 milligram dose. I took that medication until I would say about mid to end of July 2024. And in that amount of time, I achieved 20 pounds of weight loss. After I did my 6-month checkup with my doctor, we agreed to move me to the 5 milligram dose. And over the next 6 months, I continued to lose about 15 pounds through the end of December 2024. At the end of January 2025, I ran out of my prescription and needed to do my 6-month update and updated blood work. So over the month of February, I was off of my medications. I have since done my blood work and met with my doctor, and we recently moved me up to the 7.5 milligram dose. So over the past 2 weeks, I've been taking the new dose, and things are going well. Some of the challenges that I experienced over the month of February while I was off of the medication were some of the cravings that I had before. My intense sweet tooth returned, and I found myself snacking, and I found that I was hungry, more often than I had been over the past year. Over the month of February, I did gain back 4 pounds. So I know that, in the absence of my own willpower, the drug was helping me to, curb my appetite and, control some of those cravings. Now, I'll talk in another video about food noise, what that is, and the way that I experience it. But some of the positive things that I experienced from Mounjaro are, definitely helping support me in my weight loss journey. And again, it's not the focus of me taking this drug, but those are some of the positive side effects that I'm happy to take. My blood work did reveal that my blood sugar is coming down, so along with the positive, diet changes that I've been making, the medication is helping to move it, down, which is a positive direction. So, in the past 2 weeks since I've restarted the medication, I have lost 2.8 pounds. So, I still need, just a little over a pound, 1.2 pounds to get back to my weight that I was at the end of January. And I normally don't, weigh myself this frequently. But since I was going in to meet with my doctor and discuss my, blood work and results, I went ahead and weighed myself just to make sure that I had an idea of what the doctor scale, said, the official recording measurement, and then my home scale that I've been tracking my weight on for the past year. So I'm happy to see some weight, coming off. And I definitely know that with the support of the medication, it's helping me to make better dietary choices day in and day out. And I think also, alleviating some of the hunger, mindless eating, and of course the sweet tooth cravings has been very helpful. In the coming months, I'm hopeful that my weight continues to fall and that, I'm doing the work now to learn new habits and make better choices, so that in the future, when I do come off the medication permanently, that, I've equipped myself with strategies and, tools to make the good choices even without the medication. Currently, I'm at the 7.5 milligram dose, and the highest dose that somebody can take of this medication is 15 milligrams. So I feel like I've been, slowly increasing that amount, but it has been effective. And so as long as the medication is effective, then I don't see a need to continue increasing, the medication dosage. So I believe at the end of August, I'll go back to the doctor, for some updated blood work. And then, if I'm continuing to lose at that point, then I'll just stay on the 7.5 milligrams. If, things have stalled out or I'm not seeing weight loss, then, at that point, we may discuss moving up to the next dosage. So I'm recording today's video on March 16th, and I've taken my last dose of Mounjaro until after my colonoscopy on March 25th. So I take the medication weekly on Saturday morning, and so my next administration of the medication won't be until March 29th. It's recommended that patients who are preparing for colonoscopy are off of any GLP-1 medications or GLP-1 agonist medications for a period of 7 to 10 days. Because the medications work to slow down the digestive process, the food that you eat stays in your digestive tract longer. And essentially, a colonoscopy is where a doctor will insert a camera into your rectum and they take photos and videos of your digestive tract, your intestines, to get a picture of what's going on inside. And essentially, they're looking for things that look like lesions or growths. And when they take those pictures, they need everything to be as clean as possible. So there's a process that, people that are getting a colonoscopy will prepare for that procedure, and they take a medication to, clean out their bowels, their intestines, and that typically is called prep. And you do that the day before your procedure. So my procedure is on the 25th. My prep will be on the 24th. And on the 23rd is when I'll actually start, changing the diet, the food that I'm eating in preparation for taking the medication that will cause me to go to the bathroom multiple times over the day of the 24th. So that there's nothing left in my digestive tract when I have the procedure on the 25th. So I've had a procedure before. I've had a colonoscopy before. Since I am, high risk with my mother and my maternal grandmother having colon cancer, it's recommended that, people in my situation have their first colonoscopy at 35 and every 5 years thereafter if there were no issues. If there were, issues of concern like lesions or polyps or something, typically it's recommended that those are addressed, and then screenings will continue every 2 years thereafter. So it's been 5 years since my last colonoscopy, and I can honestly say that I am, ready to have this procedure. Not because I'm super excited about the process, but I feel like, so many advances in medicine have happened, since my mother, passed away from colon cancer in the, mid 80s. And I'm really thankful for the, doctors and scientists that have used their God-given abilities to come up with these, technologies and procedures and screenings and everything, so that if there were something that was a concern, we could spot it as soon as possible, so that treatment and things like that could begin, and I'd have the best possible chance of not just surviving, but getting through whatever I needed to get through, and to continue living a long, healthy, happy life. Um, I just want to continue encouraging anybody out there that may be in the same situation with a family history of colon cancer. Don't be afraid of it. Part of the reason that I wanted to share my story about, having a colonoscopy screening isn't because it's a super glamorous, thing, but I wanted to show that it doesn't have to be scary. And the procedure itself, isn't painful or anything like that. There were, I used to have coworkers that, before my first procedure were telling me about, all the terrible things about their colonoscopies years and years ago. And I think back in the day, people had to drink, like a gallon of some liquid or something like that. And I had one coworker that said that the procedure was painful and uncomfortable and different things. But in my experience, the colonoscopy that I had 5 years ago, the prep was very simple. The liquid that I drank, the medication that prompts you to go to the bathroom, was maybe 20 ounces or so. So it wasn't lots and lots of liquid, and it didn't taste bad. It tasted kind of like a flat soda. And the procedure itself, I was under anesthesia, so I didn't feel any pain. I wasn't just, uncomfortable after the procedure or anything at all. As a matter of fact, I went back to work the next day. So, I'm expecting the same, outcome. And, as long as everything goes well with the anesthesia and I don't have any side effects from that, then, I expect to be back at work the next day. So, I just want to show you that it doesn't have to be scary. It's not anything that you have to be embarrassed about or anything. If you can do something for your health, like get a screening, if you are high risk or at risk of, developing colon cancer, it makes sense to get screened early, so that you can, catch it if there is something to be worried about, and get treated so that you have the best possible outcome. So I just wanted to encourage you, and I'll take you along, on my journey as much as I can, even if it's just a little update after my procedure. But, I hope that, this is helpful to you, so that you understand it doesn't have to be scary. And this is, it's nothing to be afraid of. And, it actually is going to be, very helpful in the long run if you know about something, that you need to get assistance or help with. It'll actually be more beneficial if you can know about something that you need to address sooner rather than later. All right, so essentially, those were my 3 updates that I wanted to give you about restarting my medication, my weigh in, and my upcoming colonoscopy. I think that I'll be going into a couple of different areas about diabetes, and how I even, you know, began a health quest to understand what was happening with my body, and which eventually led to a diagnosis of diabetes. So I think I'll talk about that in my next, couple of videos, as well as, kind of how I reacted, and what I did after I received my diagnosis of diabetes, And then, the learning curve and things as I've, started using some tools like a continuous glucose monitor to help me educate myself about, how my body reacts to different foods and drinks and different things like that. So if there's anybody out there that, can benefit from this information, I want to share it because, I think um, diabetes is prevalent in a lot of communities, particularly in the Hispanic community. And I know a lot of people that have diabetes, but I don't know a lot about the disease. So this has been a process of, education and information. And I just want to make sure that if anybody out there can learn from my experiences, whether you're younger or older, the for me the point of everything is the quality of life that I want to live. I feel like I'm headed in the right direction, and I'm so thankful for your support, and I hope that some of this information is beneficial to you too. um, with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off, and I appreciate you watching, and I hope that you'll stay tuned for my next updates. My name is Crystal. This is Every Tiny Victory. I love you so much, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.